nagkakamali. Kaya as of today, sa kayong ini-expect mo sana ay meron na po kayong GC per track or per subject po.
May explain po by LMS, pero yung modular, I didn't find the importance of having it kasi nga modular sila. So yes, hindi sila mag-internet, wala silang access.
Sir, ano po kasi yun?
I think that's unfair to others na nag-pay ng modular kasi nga kaya nga
sir, ganito po yun. They are not pertaining to modular, sir. Ganito po yun, sir, ha? Una pa lang po, ang ating modality, this is for senior high school po. Una lang pa lang po kasi ang ating po sinabit kay DepEd at alam naman po natin na blended. So, it means po na blended, we have our modules and we have our online. So, nagbibigay lang po tayo ng leeway dun po talaga sa mga students na walang signal at wala po talaga pagkainan. But since tayo po ay nagbigay ng blended at meron po silang SD card at na-mention na naman po yun ng mga advisor at nasabi ko din po sa kanila na magbigay ng soft copy ng subject teacher ay i-download po nila at i-save po din sa kanila na binigay natin ng SD card. Hindi po kasi ito, sir, purely modular. So, we are blended learning po talaga. So, ang ibig sabihin po, yes po, ang ibig sabihin po nun, sir, na mga previous meeting pa, wala po silang choice. Kaya lang po kasi nagbigay tayo ng modules kasi since nga po ganda yung nangyari but still we are modular po. Ang prescribe nga po ni advice, once in a while, for example, pag-week po tayo dun sa bata nang naka-announce para malayo pa lang makapag-ready na po talaga. Siguro po, sir, this is ito po yung exact mga 10% po, 10% lang po ng students natin na senior high school talaga yung totally walang cellphone, walang signal, at everything. Kasi kung mapapansin niyo po, lahat po ng students natin na senior high school ay nakakapag-upload po sila ng picture nila sa Facebook. Kasi wala ko nakakagalit po sila in short na po. Kaya yun po talaga yung hindi modality. Hindi po siya purely modular, siya po talaga ay blended. Po, sir.
Sorry, ma'am, I think it's like that. I received the master is what is written across the name of the student is not blended. It says modular and then LMS. So, kaya hindi ko na blended pala yun. So,
Sir, yun naman po yun. Kaya po tayo naging blended. Di ba nakalagay sila sa modular? Tapos yung isa po ay UNFS. So, pag pinagsama po yun, sir, di ba, it's blended. Kailangan sila naging modular. Kaya nung po naging code, ibig sabihin po, we are given to the module. Kaya po modular. Pero pag yung isang section po, pag pinagsama niyo po ng modular, it's blended po.
Okay, ma'am, sa inyo lang galing yung blend of yung confusing lang sa akin kasi modular na si Mata. Tapos para mangyari.
Sir, ganito po yan. Kaya po siya blended. Ano po? For example, ABN. Ano po? ABN student. Doon po sa binigay ko po sa inyo na master list, nakalagay po sa taas, UNFS. The other one is modular. So, ibig sabihin po, yung ibinigay ko sa inyo na isang master list na ABN ay itself, ay blended na po kasi may UNFS, may nagpo-modular. So, yun lang po yung natin ano po, kaya po tayo ay blended. Po.
Yes, ma'am, blended kasi merong modular at merong LMS. May problem now, ibig sabihin dalawang klase yung estudyante natin. Kaya sa blended, isang modular, isang LMS. Ang problema ko, ma'am, is yung modular. Kasi ang nangyayari, parang yung ma-refer ko yung content kahit modular sa inyo ng PE. Ito yung medyo confusing lang sa akin.
Ako, kasi po, yung sabi ko nga po na yung modular, kasi nung nakakalit na nga po natin before, pagkat nasabit po natin yung meeting, siguro po ay hindi ko alam kung sino maybe na-miss niyo po yung meeting or something, hindi lang po napa-ano sa iyo. Pero po ay, nag-alam po nung bata, nag-include po sila, na meron po silang online class, once in a while, kasi yun nga po, ay may modular at may online. Kasi yun po yung na-mention na before nung aming palang nung aming meeting pa lang po. Tapos March 22, yun naman po yung ano. Kaya po ay medyo na-delay lang po din sa high school kaya binigyan namin. Kaya nung magka-pinipin sa inyo ang expect po na meron ng PGC po kayo na per
sa may thank you very much, Sir Kim, Ma'am Sara. Is there any more questions or clarifications regarding sa delivery of our modules or our subjects sa ating mga estudyante? Is there any additional comments or suggestions or questions? Yes, Ma'am Brooks, recognize.
Yes, po. Paano po kaya yun sa akin? Kasi lahat sila ay nalalaman ng mga pinaka. Eh kaso po yung sa akin, di po ba ito, skipping at saka full effect. Ayun po ay more on performance. Nire-require ko po sila na mag-engage sila kami ngayon. Pero dahil ano po yung kinuha nila ay modular, hindi na daw sila mag-computerize. So, sakto. Paano po kaya yun? Kasi yung mga features po nila ay ano,
Ma'am Zara, may sagot ng ating question.
yes, so, regarding po dun sa question, yung po naman ay lagyan lang natin ang contribution sa mga bata. Kasi as may lahat po kasi ng bata ay so wala naman po kami nagtatanong pa kasi sila mag-online sila mag-online. Kasi kung pwede din naman ba, kung ayaw nilang mag-online, sabihin niyo po, gawa sila ng performance na data. Performance na lang. Ano po yung tapos since may SD card naman sila, send po nila sa SD card nila at alam po nila para sa iyo ayaw nilang pero since experience lang po nga po nila sa mga nanonood ay nakapasok na lang po sila. Pero kulang na internet.
Sa kwarto man. Ayun po.
Meron nag-aalala na sinasabi. Meron din nag-alternate siguro na hindi ko napasok pag still napasok po. Siguro na may pag-alala natin. Tulad po natin ng level. Hindi po talaga magkakain. Sa po natin kakausapin. Apo. Kasi po nung sa HA, nagalaw lang po. Sa HA na FPS, dalawa lang po yung estudyante ko na nag-upload. Hindi pumasok yung isa. Ayun, maganda ko naman po yung update. Joan nga po yung sinasabi ko sa eskwela. Ako po, kasi nga napupisit lang po namin yan. Ang problema ko kasi ng eskwela, wala po talagang signal sa kanila kasi nakapulong. Yung po yung problema niya. Tapos, nagkinausap naman po yan. Mamilin, ano pong sabi ni Miss Cuevas? Ano sinagutuan po kay siya eh?
Opo, ma'am. Ang sabi po ni Johan, ma'am, ang hirap daw po talaga ng ma'am. Yan, ma'am. Yung signal sa kanila, ma'am. Pero pagka ano, ma'am, nag-online naman po siya, nag-inform naman po siya sa akin. Sabi po, meron siyang signal. Nagtatanong din po siya.
Kasi, yun po, wala pa po siyang makita sa akin na mabigay. Sige na, paano mo na ang performance task po kasi ako. Sige pala, doon na lang po para maano dito. Siguro po mamay, ipadaan po natin kay Mabili. Talaga natin po si Bato. Sisag na lang po sa po ni Sir ay araw ng ating presentation. Kaya lang po, natin po tabayanin po kasi bago po kasi lumabas yung mga advisor. Hindi po matutunan ng permission kay Ma'am Lois.
Yes.
Pag okay po ang sitwasyon, pwede po lumabas. Pero pag talagang madali po yung base, kasi hindi po talaga tayo makapagpas. Pero since yan po talaga directly at meron na po bata na problema, ano mo na lang po sa pag-edit.
Okay.
Parang po kung maging okay. Ano po? Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Brooks, Ma'am Zara, and of course, Ma'am Eileen. So one more thing, Ma'am Zara, presentation may meeting, hindi ba kukulangin ang time, ang rate kaagad ang submission ng
Opo, regarding naman po doon, pwede po natin siyang i-switch. Regarding doon, kasi di ba sabi ko po ang foundation naman po is May 15. So kung maibigay po yan, bago mag-May 15, May 14 po, at i-format na lang po natin, magiging po, madali na naman po yung Cairo dito sa round.
Okay, yun na po ang concern kasi magpapag-deliver. Yes po, may nais po sabihin si Ma'am Joyce. Ma'am?
Regarding sa about out sa ibang ang tanong ko is, kung kayo ba ay ganun kadali ma-reach out, like the mga groups na yung problema, yun yung mga batang nila, maaaring na yung time na wala. So, ikaw ba, pwede ka bang message nila and yung time ba na maano sila, pwede sila sagutin kung may problema?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, magparako na po itong naging estudyante na anytime, na halimbawa gusto nila mag-submit ng video or yung yung video kahit buong gabi, kahit Sunday, tinatanggap ko naman po doon basta nagme-message sila sa akin kasi available ako dito sa bahay. Tinatanggap ko naman yung alam na po nila yun na pwede ako anytime. Lalo na po itong sa housekeeping ng grade 11 kasi sila yung klase ko ng last semester na ngayon ay sila ito. Pero yung iba ngayon, hindi na lang tapos si grade 2 suggested natin. Itong grade 12 naman po, yung dati na lang estudyante. Eh dati naman nasagot sa akin sa showhan ng grade 2.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Joyce, Ma'am Brooks, and of course, Ma'am Sarah, para po sa ating mga clarifications and of course, para po sa ating mga tanong regarding po sa ating how we are going to deliver our subject course. So, sana din naman po sa ating mga faculty members na kung ang problema po natin is how we are going to reach our students or the students and yung paano tayo dinilish ng estudyante. So, ganoon din sana. Dapat tayo ay may effort and of course may ginagawa tayong paraan kung paano natin ma-reach yung ating mga estudyante. Ano po, para at least ay, kasi minsan po ang mga reklamo naman ng estudyante ay of course ang mga faculty members ay hindi nasagot sa kanilang mga messages. So, sana po naging sensitive po tayo sa gano'n. Ano po, kasi po sila po, kung nahirapan nga sila pumaten ng klase at gawa nga ng talagang internet connection, pero ginagawa naman po nila ng paraan, pero tayo naman po ang hindi nag-reply at hindi ma-reach out ng ating mga estudyante. So, siguro po ay problema natin yun. Ano po, may problema sa
Good evening, everyone. In 2 minutes or in a minute, we will start our research talk
po tayo
session.
ng way kung paano natin makakausap or paano natin makaka-communicate yung ating mga estudyante na nawawala o yung mga estudyante po natin hindi nakapag-online. Ano po? Okay po ba sa ating mga faculty members?
Yes po, Sir Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
Yes po, let's go effort. Let this be put on record. May I respectfully request, I know who's gonna give this to me, the contact numbers of all my students in senior high school so I can reach to them, to those who are taking modular.
Okay, so, noted, sir.
May I request that if that will be possible,
Okay, so we will ask the assistant principal or Ma'am Sarah regarding sa ating mga advisors regarding sa iyong request. Okay?
thank you.
Okay po. Yes po, sir. Okay po.
Okay, so thank you very much.
We will send it na lang po siguro later. Ang kay Sir Jeff naman po ay
research po ay pakisend na lang po yung copy and then ano na lang po kay Sir Jeff. Okay lang ba Sir Jeff? Sila na send na sa'yo? Para sige po sir. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you very much. Is there any more concern regarding our topic? Wala na po ba?
Okay, once again, good evening.
Yes po, ma'am.
I think
Yes,
we
Ma'am Joyce.
will be starting now with our research talks for practical research 1. Before we formally start our session, let us pause for a while and let's join in singing the Makabayan song.
So, ito po ay i-take note po natin sa Sir Russell. Ito lang
Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinas kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man sa iyo'y ibibigay. Tungkulin ko'y gagampanan na lagi kang paglingkuran. Ang laya mo'y papantayan, Pilipinas kong hirap. Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinas kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man sa iyo'y ibibigay. Tungkulin ko'y gagampanan na lagi kang paglingkuran. Ang laya ko'y papantayan, Pilipinas kong hirap. Pilipinas kong hirap. Before we formally start, let's have some few reminders. This is our online house rules. Number 1, do not share the Google Meet code to your friends. Use the same email address that you used in registering and as well in logging in to the Zoom Meet. Use the same email address. And then please turn off or mute your microphone unless you are recognized by the speaker for the question and answer portion. Kindly be polite. Do not interrupt the speaker as during the proceedings of the session. You may use the reaction button or you may raise your hand if you want to have or if you want to be recognized. Please be prepared for technical difficulties. There are certain times that either any of us may be disconnected from the meet. Kindly just go back or log in once you were disconnected. These research talks for Practical Research 1 is live in our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Please subscribe and follow. May I call on our program chair for the opening remarks, Dr. Maria Teresa G. Calapis.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. In behalf of Yan Books Publication, Practical Research 1 Group, I welcome you here in this online lecture discussion of 8 weeks MELCs of Practical Research 1. Today's discussion is a continuation of RRL or Review of Related Literature, discussed last week, which will focus on the RRL presentation and the ethical consideration when working on this part of your paper, especially for senior high school students. We hope this discussion will help you under different readings from books, from researches and journals, which you will be using as you write your paper. Okay? Again, this research cannot be done overnight. Remember that. It has to undergo a different process, and each process requires writers to be patient and be resourceful. Your teachers are just around to guide you and support you as you develop your paper. Okay? So I hope everyone will listen to the discussion tonight, especially students here. And for teachers who religiously attend and join the discussions every week, thank you so much from Practical Research 1 Group. And of course, later on, for teachers who wants to join Yan Books Publication, Practical Research 1, you can message us. Okay? And of course, if you are interested to publish your research work, you can also message directly Yan Books Publication. Our invitation posted on our Facebook page. Okay? So you may contact us. So Enjoy listening tonight's discussion and be blessed everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ma'am Teresita Calapis. Are we still going to have a special message from the Beyond Books publication President and CEO?
May continue, ma'am. Later, we call the person.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Calapis. Okay. Let me share. May I ask permission if I can share my slide?
Yes po.
Okay, thank you. Okay. For I have the honor to introduce our speaker for this night's session from Castillejos National High School, Ma'am Cherry E. Garcia. Let me read her bio note. Ma'am Cherry is earned her Bachelor of Education major in Social Sciences at St. Joseph's College in Quezon City.
Kaya makita yung ako. Kaya mapapunta.
She was a working student during her college years and at the same time a granting aid scholar. She managed to become the president of the Junior Faculty Club and it was awarded as the most performing club of the year during her presidency. Ma'am Cherry also written supplementary learning materials which were utilized and showcased for exhibit during Learning Resources Festival, thereby contributing to the curriculum contextualization efforts of DepEd Zambales. She also wrote self-learning module for Araling Panlipunan Quarter 1 and served as a content evaluator of guided learning activity kit for Quarter 2. Ma'am Cherry also was awarded a first place in the National Online Conference and Demonstration Teaching Festival given by the Leadership in Education Academy and Development Philippines. A second placer in Digital Teachers, Interacting ICT and New Technologies into Teaching and Education given by the Department of Information and Communication Technology. She is an awardee of Beyond Books publication in the 2021 Global Leaders and Educators Award. This was just recently, in April 2021. She presented research papers on various conferences and had published manuscripts on Journal of World Englishes and Educational Practices. And now, may I call on Ma'am Cherry for her to share her topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Good evening to everyone. Please allow me to share my screen.
Yes po.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes po.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Maria Ibet and Meñano. So, good evening, everyone. So, my research talk is all about review of related literature. So, we will discuss how to follow ethical standards in writing related literature, and we will present a written review of related literature. So, what is ethics? So, this is the most common way of defining ethics. Norms for distinguishes between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Example of acceptable behavior is being honest, and unacceptable behavior is getting credit which a person does not deserve, or simply being a liar.
Excuse me, Ma'am Cherry, for
Yes.
a while po. May we ask if we can have the slide in presentation view? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So ethics or morals are rules for distinguishing between right and wrong. Example of morals is determined by a person's value of honesty. Cheating is bad. Someone who values success more than honesty may behave by another way or by another moral. For them, cheating is fine. So in writing literature review, researcher must follow a set of ethical standards or guidelines to avoid plagiarism. So plagiarism is the act or using another person's words or ideas. So in the Philippines, plagiarism is the same as copyright and could be considered under the Cybercrime Law of the Republic Act 10175. And according to the Department of Justice, plagiarism is not a crime, but it is the same in copyright violation. So plagiarism has a consequence or penalties for about 6 years of imprisonment and the fine of 50,000 to 150,000 pesos. So we have different types of plagiarism. We have the direct, the mosaic, the self-plagiarism. We have the accidental plagiarism and the plagiarism without credit. So the direct plagiarism is one of the most common types of plagiarism. So it involves directly copying another person's work without changing anything. This copied work without in turn is presented as one's own without acknowledging the other source or enclosing it in quotation marks. So an example of direct plagiarism is copying sentences or paragraphs from your sources and pasting it on your paper without properly citing quotation from sources. So here is an example of plagiarized essay with a passage lifted from an article by Alan Taylor from The Atlantic. So the Nazis expertly used propaganda to turn the German public's anger and resentment after World War I to cultivate racism towards Jews. So Lebenswert der Leben, or life unworthy of life. So the phrase was applied to the mentally impaired and later to the racially inferior or sexually deviant as well as to enemies of the state, both internal and external. So, an example of plagiarized essay with the passage lifted straight from an article by Alan Taylor from The Atlantic. The Holocaust started with a Nazi policy normalizing and legalizing the murder of civilians en masse, especially the Jews. Later on, the mass murder or genocide of the Jews became Hitler's final solution. So another type of plagiarism is the global plagiarism. This means taking an entire work by someone else and passing it off as your own. If you get someone else to write an essay or assignment for you, or if you find a text online and submit it as your own work, you are committing plagiarism because it involves deliberately and directly lying about the authorship of a work. So this is one of the most serious types of plagiarism, and it can have severe consequences. Okay, so another type of plagiarism is the paraphrasing plagiarism. So paraphrasing means rephrasing a piece of text in your own words. Paraphrasing without citation is the most common type of plagiarism. So paraphrasing itself is not plagiarism so long as you properly cite your sources. However, paraphrasing becomes plagiarism when you read a source and then rewrite its key points as if they were your own ideas. Additionally, if you translate a piece of text from another language, you need to correctly cite the original source. A translation without a source is still plagiarism, as you are using someone else's ideas. So an example of paraphrasing plagiarism. So the original is based from Cronon at year 1995. So that is the original review of related literature, and then it is incorrect because there is no citation.
Pag hinanap ako, naibig lang.
Okay, we also have another example
Sabi nga, kasi hindi na kami
of plagiarism is the verbatim plagiarism, otherwise known as the copy and paste. So you commit verbatim plagiarism when you directly copy text from a source and paste it into your own document without attribution. If the structure and the majority of the words are the same as in the original, then it is verbatim plagiarism, even if you delete or change a couple of words here and there. So if you want to use an author's exact words, you need to quote the original source by putting the copied text in quotation marks and including an in-text citation. So these types of plagiarism is according to Raimo Street Kurt. Okay, so an example of verbatim plagiarism. This model explains that even though every country in the European Union might be different, they still be united to serve and help each other in the recent years. So, copy and paste. Early theories of European integration speculated that economic integration would lead to political integration and a European identity. It does not place national identities in the United, but for a significant share of the European Union, a European identity exists alongside the national identity. At the same time, political parties asserting more traditional nationalist identities and policies have directed their dissatisfaction against immigrants. Okay, so this is an example of a copy and paste plagiarism. Okay, we also had mosaic plagiarism, also known as the patchwork plagiarism, or incremental plagiarism. It means copying phrases or passages from different sources and putting them together to create. So this includes slightly rephrasing passages while keeping some words and structure as the original. So this type of plagiarism requires a little more effort and is more insidious than just copying and pasting from a source, but plagiarism checkers like Turnitin can easily detect it. So an example of this kind of plagiarism, example of patchwork plagiarism is the data operational. So the data, in order to test the hypothesis formulated in the previous chapter and eventually give a proper answer to the research question, the data set that will be used is the European Valley Study in 2008. So the European Valley Study is a large-scale, time-intensive survey of basic value, and it it is a unique research project on how Europeans think about life, family, work, religion, politics, and society. So the European Value Study was launched in 1981 when a couple of hundred citizens in the European member states were interviewed using standardized questionnaires. So every 9 years, the survey is repeated in an increasing number of countries. So not all the respondents of the original data sample are included in the analysis. People who did not answer one or more of the questions included are filtered out of the data set. So the final number of respondents has been brought down to a sample analysis of 60,077 respondents. Another type of plagiarism is reciting incorrectly. So the key to avoiding plagiarism is citing your sources. So you need to correctly format your citations according to the rules of the citation style you are following. So if you don't include all the necessary information or you put it in the wrong place, you could be committing plagiarism. So most styles require in-text citation plus a reference list or bibliography at the end of your paper, where you give full details of every source you cited. Okay, example of a correct citation. Bisbian and Asdian, 1975, concluded that attitude can best be described as a learned manner of reacting positively or negatively regarding a certain behavior. Okay, so there is an in-text citation there. Okay, so another type of plagiarism is plagiarizing your own work or self-plagiarism. So self-plagiarism means reusing work that you previously submitted, even though it's your own work. It is considered dishonest to a present paper or a piece of data brand new when you've already gotten credit for the work. So there are a couple of different versions of self-plagiarism. So the more you use it to turn in a paper you already submitted for a grade to another class, unless you have explicit permission to do so, this is always considered self-plagiarism. Okay, so self-plagiarism can also occur when you use ideas, phrases from your previous assignments, as with paraphrasing, reworking old ideas and passages is not inherently plagiarism, but you should cite your previous work to make the origin clear. So your institution might have specific policies on self-plagiarism, for example, about whether it's acceptable or to incorporate parts of previous papers into your thesis or dissertation. So you always have to consult your instructors if you are unsure. Okay, so there are 6 ways to avoid plagiarism. So the first one is paraphrase. So you have found information that is perfect for you for your research paper. Read it and put it into your own words. Make sure that you do not copy verbatim more than 2 words in a row from the text you have found. If you do use more than 2 words together, you will be having to use quotation marks. We will get into quoting properly soon. Okay, the next one is the citation or the cite. It's one of the effective ways to avoid plagiarism. So follow the document formatting guidelines. This has been discussed last research talk by Dr. Rex Lin. Okay, used by your educational institution or the institution that issued the research request. This usually entails the addition of the authors and the date of publication or similar information. Citing is really that simple. Not citing properly can constitute plagiarism. Next is quoting. When quoting a source, use the quote exactly the way it appears. No one wants to be misquoted. So most most institutions of higher learning prone on black codes or codes of 40 words or more. A scholar should be able to effectively paraphrase most material. This process takes time, but the efforts pays off. Quoting must be done correctly to avoid plagiarism allegations. So citing quotes can be different than citing paraphrased material. This practice usually involves the addition of a page number or a paragraph number in the case of a web content. Okay, so citing your own material. If some of the material you are using for your research paper was used by you in your current class, a previous one, or anyone else, you must cite yourself. Treat the text the same as you would if someone else wrote it. It may sound odd, but using material you have used before is called self-plagiarism, and it is not acceptable. Referencing. It is one of the most important ways to avoid plagiarism. It is including a reference page or page of works cited at the end of your research paper. Again, this page must meet the document formatting guidelines used by your educational institution. So this information is very specific and includes the author's date of publication, title, and source. So follow the directions for this page carefully. You will want to get the references right. Okay, so we will now present an example of related literature. So Gwendolyn Rees might have written a traditional research paper describing the history of critical thinking in American education and containing quotations from scholarly sources to put her ideas. So instead, she presents a literature review focusing on the scholarly sources themselves. So this explains how scholarly opinion has developed over time, where leading scholars agree and disagree. What sources carry more authority than others? Okay, so this is entitled Critical Thinking and Transferability, so a review of the literature by Gwendolyn Rees in April 9, 2002. So the first paragraph states why subject is important. So the importance of the review of the related literature is have gained from their education to the practical problems of life has troubled educators. So greatest concern is whether students have mastered critical thinking or higher order thinking skills and can apply them outside of school curricula. So these concerns have given rise to the critical thinking movement. So the second paragraph of the review of the review of the literature states the purpose of this review. So the primary purpose of this review is to ascertain if there is compelling evidence that efforts to teach critical thinking have had these results. And then, the review of the related literature, previous logical order, and the review will follow. So if you will see here, there is a chronological order. So the first of these problems is whether the movement has a common theme or definition of critical thinking. Second is the question, does critical thinking encompasses creative thinking or is it antithetical to it? The third problem might be formulated, thus is critical thinking generalizable or is it tied to subject matter? And the fourth problem is whether adequate evaluative measures of critical thinking are available to measure the effectiveness of efforts to teach critical thinking. So this line of inquiry supplies the structure for this review of the relevant literature. Okay, so the review of the related literature establishes limits of scope. So the scope of this review is limited. Most critical thinking literature provides program and instructional technique description. This material is out of scope for this review except as it bears directly upon the question concerning subject dependence in relation to critical thinking. Furthermore, although this review addressed the works of most seminal thinkers in the critical thinking movement constraints, unlimited access to information means that some major figures, such as Hardy Siegel, have not been included. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, so the review of related literature, the writer does express own opinion, but presence of I is minimal. I believe that Paul is correct in criticizing Bruce's view that critical thinking is value neutral, since real-life decisions are never value neutral. But again, that does not calculate the structure of this and so many. Okay, so the review of related literature also identified gaps in existing research. Finally, although philosophical literature on this subject allows evaluating studies using either qualitative or quantitative methods to measure the effectiveness of whole programs are comparatively scarce. So, now, reviews are often broken by critics and subheadings corresponding to the organization of writing introduction. So, sample of this is the most common theme of the critical thinking movement. And also, a position held by a number of experts is summarized, and those experts are included and in-text citation. Okay, there is also no difference from an annotated bibliography. The same source may be cited more than once. Okay, that's an example of difference from an annotated bibliography, Kennedy, Hall, Dickerson, Grant. And the review of related literature also points out strengths and weaknesses of leaders in the field. So example is the primary strength of Bloom's taxonomy is that it is logical and hierarchical, guiding the educator in the process, leading from the most simple to the most complex form of cognitive skills. And also, the writer does express own opinion, the presence of I is minimal. And it also includes those contracting or opposing the majority. So at the far end of this spectrum are thinkers who identify critical thinking with the virtue of thoughtfulness. So the cultivation of thoughtfulness leads individuals to engage in purposeful and deliberate thinking according to Schratt. And Schratt defines a virtue as education into conjunctural inclinations. So in this case, the inclination towards impulsiveness and the inclination towards thinking. Okay, so the review of related literature also shows group experts on opposing sides of the issue. Example is some scholars, however, believe that critical thinking and creative thinking are different cognitive skills position is most clearly articulated by the three-fold labyrinth Edward Jr. The Tribunal's main thesis that so-called vertical thinking cannot construct new hypotheses but can only evaluate propositions. Okay, these are some more related literature. And there's also a conclusion. So it concludes with an overview and summary of the existing research along with suggestions for future study. So conclusions and needs for additional research. So the conclusion states, at this point, the evidence is mixed concerning the transferability of critical thinking skills and therefore the useful of critical thinking instruction. The compounded state of research into the transferability of critical thinking skills stems from fundamental disagreement about what is meant by critical thinking. We are unable to account either for wrong answers that attribute to critical thinking thought or for right answers that might be made through test wisely. Okay, and the literature review uses the word scientific of sources only. So no format accepts entries for authors of more than one word cited. Okay, so no format of this one. So that author has many words that has been used by the researcher. Okay, and these are my references. Thank you and good evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Jerry. We now open the floor for questions and answer portion for the question and answer portion. Those who would like to ask questions, you may start typing in the chat box. Thank you. We would like to recognize our participants from who are attending or viewing from our Facebook page. These are from Cotabato Foundation College of Science and Technology in North Cotabato. While we are waiting for the participants to type in their questions, I'll be reading the schools where the different participants are from. From San Matias National High School in Manaling, Pampanga, SDO Santa Rosa City, Laguna. From Cavite State University. And then also we have participants from Cotabato Foundation of Science and Technology, from Dr. Pablito V. Mendoza Senior High School, from Negros Oriental State University, and World City Colleges, Gimba Campus, Nueva Ecija. So, okay. So, Ma'am Cherry, we have questions here from I just want to clarify the following. Number one, in publication, what is the difference between plagiarism and similarity text or index? Ma'am Cherry? Okay. While Ma'am Cherry is preparing, the second question is how will we determine if we are following the APA format since there are always updates in APA citation? And the third question is in plagiarism checker, is plagiarism checker in Google accurate, or so meaning is plagiarism checker in Google, whether it's accurate or not. So those were the questions, Cherry.
Sorry, ma'am. In Dapat Zambales, when we also use plagiarism checker, but then sometimes if I use the plagiarism checker, sometimes it says zero plagiarized, but then when you use it again, there is still a percentage of plagiarized. So I think it is not that accurate in plagiarism checker. Okay, in the question, what is text similarity? It has to determine how close two pieces of text are both in surface closeness. So similarity and meaning semantics. For instance, how similar are the phrases? So the cat ate the mouse, with the mouse ate the cat, food by just looking at the words. Okay, so in the APA citation, this has been discussed by Sir Rex last research talk, together with the Chicago style of citation.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Cherry. We would like to ask the participants if there are still other questions that you would like to ask our speaker. For now, those were the only 3 questions that were raised. Okay, I think there are no more questions from the participants. Thank you very much. So let's now proceed to the awarding of certificates. I would like to read the citation from for the certificate to be awarded to Ma'am Cherry Garcia. So, certificate of recognition is presented to Ma'am Cherry E. Garcia for being the resource speaker during the Beyond Books Publication Research Talk.
May klase ako, oh. Dahil ako. Mamaya pagtapos ng klase, oh. Dito sa'yo.
May I kindly ask the participants to mute their microphone? Thank you very much. Let me continue. A certificate of recognition is presented to Cherry E. Garcia for being the resource speaker during the Beyond Books Publication Research Talks for Practical Research 1 with the topic Following Ethical Standards in Writing Related Literature, presents a written review of literature via Zoom, given this 30th day of April 2021. Ma'am Cherry, please accept the certificate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am,
Congratulations.
for that certificate of recognition.
Okay. If I may, if Ma'am Teresita Calatis, if I may read the note or the text from the message from the chat box, if I may. I would like to thank you for inviting me to your webinar in Research Talks and Practical Research 1. Your webinar meeting is relevant and very informative for us. For me as a student, I will be using this knowledge, ethical standards in writing related literature, you provided to make it right and appropriate. Improvements in my research studies. I haven't studied this topic yet, but it can help me in my advanced studies. A second-year college student, and we're studying our first research studies, and this webinar helps me to understand the right way. I value your experience or expertise and knowledge, and will use it to help and to share this knowledge to others. Thanks a lot, and God bless. That's from Louis Boy Montserrat. Okay, thank you very much for that kind sharing. We know here in Beyond Books publication, we get a lot of comments, we get a lot of praises from the students and teachers participants, thanking, and they are very grateful for having this research talks endeavor of the Beyond Books publication. Okay, so thank you very much. Reminder, may I remind those who participated in the last week's research talks for 3 eyes, your certificates will be released via email starting tomorrow. Thank you. The evaluation link is posted in the chat box. You may access the link and proceed with the evaluation. Okay, thank you very much. So a lot of participants are thanking our resource speaker for today's session. Okay, so may I now call on is Sir Riogel here?
Yes, ma'am, speaking.
Okay, yeah, hello. Good evening, sir.
So, good evening po.
Okay.
Good evening po sa ating lahat. Thank you, ma'am. Ayan, first of all, my apology for being late kasi po ako nasiraan po ng kasakyan at ginawa ko po. Kaya nag-chat na po agad ako sa ating GC na will be late for this evening. But anyway, so good evening in behalf of Beyond Books Publication. Again, so I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude for those who are behind this program. Of course, first and foremost to our Almighty God, who always, sabi nga, hindi nagsasawang tayo ibigyan ng courage and wisdom. Despite of all the challenges and endeavors, still we are here. So first to our very hardworking President CEO, Dr. Leonido V. Capulso, for always guiding and leading us in our journey here as researchers, and for initiating programs like this. Of course, to our program chairman, Dr. Maria Teresita Calapis, who always take the lead in Practical Research 1 program. To our very competent speaker for this evening, Ma'am Garcia, for giving us wonderful insights through the topic she discussed a while ago. To our very supportive facilitator, Ma'am Maria Igatiniano, thank you very much. Of course, to our ITs, Dr. Myra Flores and Sir J. Ben Locson, na siyang talagang nagpapanatili ng smooth flow ng ating program. Of course, to the rest of the technical working group, and of course sa ating lahat ng mga viewers ngayon, sa lahat ng mga nag-participate, nag-join sa ating research talk for this evening, sa Facebook, sa YouTube, here in Zoom meeting. So maraming salamat po sa lahat. And kagaya nga po ng aking lagi sinasabi na although it's Friday, at talaga namang syempre we are, sabi nga, pagod na sa ating mga gawain dahil ito ang huling araw ng, sabi nga, trabaho. Although tomorrow is Labor Day and it's a holiday, pero sana wag tayong mapagod sa pagkatuto. Wag sana mag-holiday ang ating kalooban at isip, para tayo ay matuto, lalo tigit ang research ay isang napakahalagang aspeto sa educational process sa panahong ito. And sabi nga po, at kagaya rin ng aking binanggit last time, yung produkto, na yung common facts of today are the products of yesterday's research, and I do believe also na yung mga magiging produkto sa kinabukasan ay siyang bunga ng kung ano yung pagpupursige ng research sa kasalukuyang panahon. At sana tayo po ay mga maging contributors sa research sa panahon natin po ngayon. So with that, happy researching and God bless po sa ating lahat.
Thank you so much, Doc Riogel. Okay, is there any other words that will be coming from Ma'am Calatis before we end our session?
Thank you po ulit, Ma'am Yvette. Doc Rio, can you please announce the new activities of Beyond Books publication and yung books po natin, no? Which teachers and students can avail through Beyond Books publication po. Okay po, so, opo. Myra.
So, okay po. Meron po ba tayong ating mga poster po natin dyan? So, we are very...
poster po natin.
Opo, so we are very pleased, no, to present to you the different books from Beyond Books publication that you can be used, no, for research writing. So we have a lot of books that actually we can avail from our library that will surely be helpful as you construct and write your research. So, pwede po bang makita po natin, ma'am, kung ano ba yung ating mga libro na ma-avail, pwedeng bilhin, no, sa ating library. So, we have here inquiries, investigations, and immersion. So, saktong-sakto rin po sa mga senior high school students natin, no, who are under this subject. So, and of course, we are very proud to say na yung mga authors po natin ay siya rin po mga speakers po natin, no, na walang sawa at buong suporta na nagbibigay ng mga talk para tayo ay lalong natuto. Okay po, so ano po yung ating mga libro po dyan? We have also so we have how to write and publish your dissertation for those who are undertaking the doctorate degree. And of course, meron din po tayo how to write and publish your thesis para naman po sa mga nag-undergo ng masterate degree. Also, we have here how to conduct an action research in education. Napapanahon po ito since especially teachers are encouraged to write, to construct or propose an action research. We are very sure na magagamit po natin ito sa paggawa po ng action research. Okay po? We also have research methodology for quantitative and qualitative research na of course makakatulong in constructing our paper and at the same time in identifying the methodology that we are going to use in writing our research papers. So also we have dito tayo so we have this practical research tool, no? Quantitative research for our senior high school students and at the same time for our fellow educators. Megamit po natin ito. Ayan, so isa rin po sa ating bagong-bago po na yung ating tinatawag na IJAMS or International Journal of Advanced Multidisciplinary Studies. So if you want your research articles, papers, to be published, you may call us actually. Mamaya pakita po natin yung mga contact numbers, contact persons na pwede po nating kausapin, makipag-coordinate, So if you want your papers na to be published, so ito na po ang sagot, ang ating pong IJAS. I think nasa volume 3 na po yata po tayo, or issue 3, volume 1, issue 3. So ito po yung mga contact persons, na pwede po natin kausapin. We have our associate editor, Sir Joel M. De La Cruz. Of course, together with our CEO, President Dr. Miguel D. Capuzzo. Of course, ang ating pong managing editor, ang ating pong PR1 chairman, other than Dr. Maria Teresita G. Calatis. Also, our IT experts here, Dr. Myra G. Flores. We We also have Sir J. Benty Loksyon. So, yan po yung mga, actually, mga contact person. And of course, our editor-in-chief, no? Dr. Leonilo V. Capulso. And at the same time, no, pwede rin po natin actually kontakin yung mga regional coordinators po, no, through the initiative of Dr. Leonilo V. Capulso. So, ang ating pong team ay, sabi nga natin, lumalawak at lumadami. Kaya po later on, makikita po natin na mayroon na po tayo mga designated na regional coordinators na siyang pwede po natin kontakin, no? Sa region na ating pinasasakupan. And of course, no, we want you to invite, no, we want to invite you, no, to our 2021 International Multidisciplinary Research Conference. Kung sabi nga, kung na-miss po ninyo at kayo po ay hindi siguro nakadalo o hindi nakasama sa ating katatapos lang na ginanap na research conference last April, I think, no, itong April din po, mayroon po ulit tayong, sabi nga, round 2 or part 2, no? Ito po ang ating research conference na gaganapin naman po this coming September 2021, no? At ang ating po participating country or collaborating country is actually Athens, Greece. And of course, we will have this Global Leaders and Educators Awards. So, mas marami pa po ngayong mga actually categories, no, na pwede nyo pong pwede kayong mag-nominate, no? Para dun sa mga awards ko na yun. And also, you may submit your research abstracts and nominations. So, ito po yung ating mga contact persons. Of course, our CEO President, Dr. Leonilo V. Capulso. And again, mga regional directors po natin sa BBP ay maaari din po nating kontakin po, no? Ng ating po mga city coordinators or provincial coordinators as well ay pwede rin po nating actually kontakin, no? Para po sa mga details. So, see you on September 2021, no? At ayan po yung ating pong sample, no? Ng mga, actually, ng mga plaque na ipinamibigay po sa ating mga awardees po. So, for contacts, no? Actually, you may contact this number 0933-556-4886. Ayan. So, with that, thank you and makabuhay po tayo.
Thank you very much, Doc Rio, Doc Calatis, Doc Myra, Sir J. Ben, and to our speaker, Ma'am Cherry Garcia. So that concludes our practical research session for this evening. See you on Wednesday for another research talks on 3 Eyes, and on Friday for another research talk for Practical Research 1. Thank you very much. Good evening.